Hello, my name is Nasir Mosquera, and today I'm going to be discussing a character from the well known HBO series The Wire for my popular media assignment. The Wire, as for background, is a show that follows the Baltimore Police Department and their pursuit of the many criminals that inhabit Baltimore, Maryland. These range from the low level drug dealers that inhabit the slum communities where the underclass, where the lower class and the underprivileged live, all the way up to the international kingpins who have many connections within the political system and those make it very easy for them to evade police detection. The story is not just about cops, however, it is also about exploring the many reasons for why there's so much corruption and why effectively it feels as if it's so difficult to maintain any semblance of permanent change in society. From the bureaucracy of the city government to the media over sensationalizing fake stories and overshadowing the real problems that the city faces, all the way down to the changes and the lies that are actively told in the police department that prevent from actual change being made. And a character that I would like to touch on, who is unfortunately a victim to this system, is a character named Naaman Bryce. Naaman is a young, intelligent, and charismatic boy from Baltimore. Uh, Unfortunately, though, he lives in a drug-infested community, and because of that, he aspires to be a respected gangster like his father, Roland Bryce. He only has these aspirations, though, due to the environment that he came up in, because no one around him ever gave him the opportunity to be able to see opportunities beyond just being out in the street. Everybody always told him that he had to be just like his father and that was the only way that he could achieve manhood. It was almost like it was a rite of passage in a sense in his community of the underprivileged of Baltimore, Maryland, that in order to truly call yourself a man in their community, you had to have been active in a criminal sense. And this notion was only perpetuated by his mother, Delonda Bryce, who is just overbearing and only encourages Damon's criminal activity. However, she only does this because she's seeking to replace the income that her husband gave her from his criminal activity before he became incarcerated for such acts, and also because that's the only expectation she knows to have of her son. She's never seen any positive male figures in her life go beyond anything past the corner or the sidewalk outside of her house. So how can she ever have any aspirations for her son to be something greater? So it's just feeding into the societal expectation from the macro system that they live in, that her son cannot aspire to be anything beyond just being a criminal. So the conflict arises when Naaman proves to not be competent at his choice at being a criminal. When when he makes a mistake with a drug dealing operation, and his mother is very verbally abusive to him and berates him for not being like his father, and tells him that there's no way he can be a man because he's not capable of handling the decisions that need to be made in order to succeed in that criminal lifestyle. And I just wanted to tie these points all the way back to how integral it is to an adolescent, what influences and what adult figures and authorities are around them, because those greatly shape what they expect of themselves. Naaman did not have the opportunity to be able to find new avenues of self expression or be able to learn new ways of being successful because none of the adult figures around him were open minded enough or knowledgeable enough in the first place to even be able to guide him in that direction. It wasn't until a friend of his father stepped in and formally adopted him that Naaman was able to properly figure out a life for himself and began to take steps in the right direction for what he wanted to do for the future. And I believe The Wire is just an example of a flawless example, in fact, of parenting in underprivileged communities really being a detriment to the development of these adolescents. And I believe that is just an example of the environment and of the environment being just as important as the authority figures. If both are failing the child, then the child will ultimately fail as well. Thank you for listening.